we waste so much energy. So like learning how to shorten that time span so we can make decisions quicker, like this is how you work smarter, not harder, because you're actually really intentional of what you're using your energy on. We waste so much time and energy on things that don't actually matter and don't actually move our business forward.
Sharp strategies, sweet success. Hello, everyone, and welcome. You are listening to Sharp Strategies, Sweet Success, and I am your host, Tiffany Swidensky. And today I am talking with Kayleigh Kennedy of Limitless Coaching. I met Kayleigh back in July, I think it was, at the GLM Mastermind. And she comes from a PR background. And actually, that day I was talking about PR. And so she came right up after I did the presentation, and we just started talking about PR and marketing and what she is doing, and invited her here on the show. So I'll let her finish out the introduction and just go over what she's doing for her clients right now.
Awesome. Thanks, Tiffany. And thanks for having me. It's nice to see you again. So I'm a business and mindset coach now. My background is in customer service. I have a degree in public relations, worked in marketing and PR and communications and event planning and all of the things in my corporate life. And a couple years ago, I invested in mindset coaching for myself, actually, right before my son was born. I didn't love my corporate job, didn't love the cubicle life, just wasn't feeling fulfilled. And I invested in a mindset coach, and that changed the complete trajectory of my life. And personally, first of all, like stepping into motherhood with confidence during COVID, which was not expected. That's when I really realized that what I learned in the mindset space was like there was something really special there. And that's when my business started. So I started my business during COVID. It'll be going on 5 years in January, this coming January, which is really exciting. I've worked for numerous international coaches prior to going off and starting my own kind of consulting and coaching business in January of 2024. So what I actually do and how I actually support people is I help them build businesses that feel as good as they look. I find a lot of entrepreneurs, small business owners, lawyers, which I know you work a lot with, they can build that super successful business, but a lot of people lose themselves on the path of building those businesses. So I really want to help small business owners and entrepreneurs align their values, who they are, what they stand for with the businesses, and be able to achieve that kind of aligned, deep inner success.
And there really is something magical about mindset and coaching. And I've used it a few times in my life too. And oddly, it was a doula. I actually hired I think technically that was my first mindset coach, so to speak, was a doula when I was having my son, because I wanted a specific type of birth, a specific type of labor, which is unmedicated, and didn't feel confident I could do it alone, I guess. And it was actually really cool. It was really nice. And like you said, there's something really cool and magical about it. So I guess like from you said business owners kind of lose their way in business. Can you give me like you don't have to like name names or anything, but can you give me like maybe a more specific example of what that looks like?
Absolutely. So I would say a lot of people who end up coming to me come to me because they've built this business, but they burn out. They're working, hustling, grinding, doing all the things, and they've actually lost sight of the things that really matter. Because burnout is, yes, it's from doing too much, but it's also from not doing enough of the things that like light your soul on fire. And I find, especially here in North America, and I'm up in Canada, but I think we are very much like North American work culture is the hustle, the grind, the just go, 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 busy, busy. And in the busyness of life, we sometimes forget our purpose of why it is that we're actually doing the things that we do. So I've had clients who are just burnt out, who like they want to basically like burn their business down. They're like, I'm done. Like, I can't do this anymore. Stress, chaos, not putting their families first, getting to that point of like, what is this all for? So I help them come back to reminding them what it's all for, and then building a business from that space. So even if they've already built a super successful practice or business or whatever. Like I do work with lawyers, I work with real estate agents, a lot of people who are in sales, I work with other coaches. Before they get to that point of actually burning their business down, I take them back to that why and then help them kind of reground and regroup in that space so that they can start showing up differently in their business. And a lot of that too is subconscious reprogramming. Like the North American how we've been programmed to work here in North America isn't sustainable. So it's no wonder that business that we burn out, right? Like we're not taught to put ourselves first. You go on an airplane, they say put your oxygen mask on before you put anyone else's oxygen mask on, but we're not shown how to do that. So I help people do that again. I don't know if that kind of helps clarify that a little bit more for you.
Earlier this summer, I read The Gifts of Imperfection by Brene Brown. I hope I say her name right. And I really recommend that one. It sounds like you're familiar as well, but she very much talks about like just embracing the imperfection, the importance of incorporating creativity, and just the thing that sticks with me is just like waking up and like just accepting that what you do that day is enough. Like whatever you get done or do that day is enough. And as a business owner, you start the day with like 10 things on a checklist and you get to like 5, 7 of them if you're lucky, all 10 if you're on fire. And it's hard because that's every day. There's something left undone that gets pushed to the next. And I love owning a business, but it's like it's a lifestyle and it's a lot of work. I mean, I feel like I'm stating the obvious. And so, I mean, it's so easy to get burned out doing this stuff. And just because most of my listeners are lawyers or work for lawyers. And so I got to ask the classic question, like, how are lawyers different from the other business owners that you work with? And how are they different?
Ooh, that's a good question. I would say I've seen a lot of comparison between like my lawyer clients and my clients who are in financial services and real estate. So I can see a lot of similarities in the drive and just how those kind of people in those industries kind of show up. Now, the difference between lawyers are usually the education, usually the experience to get to where you've gotten to, because there's a lot of education, there's the like interning and like all of the things that lead up into actually practicing. What I have noticed, I've had this conversation with a couple of my clients, is the people who kind of move through that with a more positive mindset, more positive outlook, more self-compassion, more self-acceptance are going to build the more, I'm going to say not successful, but successful and aligned practices. Because the thing is, we build from a place of chaos, we build chaos. And when I say chaos, I mean like your nervous system. I mean your mindset. Like most people are steeped in fear, they're steeped in worry, they're steeped in lack, they're steeped in limitation, they're steeped in other people's expectations. They don't really know who they are. They don't, bad habits, like all of these things. Like you just pile it up, right? It doesn't really matter what industry you're in. That's one thing I've noticed. I just know for lawyers in particular, because there's a lower barrier to entry with some of these other professionals that I work with. There's a higher barrier to entry, but sometimes that comes with actually putting on more pressure. So they get to that state of building their own practice or moving up in the practice, and they've already been working from this place of pressure and expectation. So that can break you pretty quick too, right?
I don't know where I heard this or if it's like a study or something, but I do believe that there's a correlation between more education or people with a higher intelligence and then just like anxiety, because you're more, I guess, aware of the consequences or your future thinking and you're going too far and the worry just starts to build and build. And worrying's a habit. And the more you do it, the more you will do it and you'll continue to do it. And it doesn't help. Like it doesn't, thinking about all of these things and just constantly kind of churning it over in your head. It really doesn't help. Although business owners were still going to do it. Like my husband was, I forget, he was talking to me about something. And in my defense, it was kind of boring. And he looked over at me and he was like, "You're kind of distracted." And I was like, "Well, I'm thinking about ways of making money," which is genuinely, honestly true. I was looking up in a corner, like, had a quick business idea and mulling over in my head. And it's hard to turn off. But when you're a business owner, you kind of have to be just like doing that stuff and thinking about that stuff. I think it's interesting that you compared lawyers to real estate agents. I'm sure a lot of them don't think about it like that, but it is very much like a hustle lifestyle when you're trying to get new clients.
Yeah. That's where that's kind of the parallels that I see is that hustle, that grind, or that thinking they need to be on 24/7.
Yeah.
And that's also like the industry, that's what the industry tells you. So then you accept that idea. Like it's funny when you mention anxiety, what I have learned in my own experience of releasing a ton, like I used to be a very anxious person, is anxiety really happens when you let the outside world in. And we don't know how to not let the outside world in. So when I like talk about the mindset work that I do is I help people build up that control. So their self-control so that you can stop letting so much of the outside world in. Because we let the things around us control us. Like one of my favorite examples is you're driving to work in the morning or whatever, and something happens that pisses you off. It happens in 5 seconds, and you let that 5 seconds ruin your whole day. Because the same thing could happen to me, and I'll just brush it off. But it's a choice, and we keep making these choices to let the outside world in. That's a habit, right? And that's a very strong habit that we have here in society. So the more you're able to take that power back and really like know that, wait, no matter what's going on outside of me, I can control my attitude. I can control my mindset. I can control my state. I can control my energy. You're going to move through life and you're going to move through business with a lot more peace and a lot more grace.
And it's when you think about it, when we're in school, we are basically always comparing ourselves to each other. And maybe they changed it. I'm thinking back when I was in school, but there's competitions over who got the better grades or who made a team or who didn't make a team, who was and being a kid's hard, and it's very much like sizing yourself up to everyone else. In a lot of ways, like school is like oriented to do just that, the competition. But then when you get into the business or real world or whatever you want to call it, you basically have to, like you mentioned, like deprogramming a little bit, like deprogram yourself from that kind of routine because life isn't like it is in school. You're not, it doesn't matter like who gets the best grades or who's on the team or whatever. It's about you and your happiness and your success. And so for lawyers or anyone who goes to school for a really long time, it is so competitive. And even the grown-ups who run businesses are susceptible to like fear of missing out and like copying the market, and not copying, but like wanting to do the marketing that their competitors are doing, or why do they have more cases than I do, or something like that. At least from the marketing perspective, that's what I see.
If every business owner falls into a trap of comparison to some extent. Some like really let it control them. Others I notice like they can use that as fuel and inspiration. And I think most fall in the middle.
Oh yeah. And not trying to make this about marketing, but like when a business is good at marketing, that doesn't necessarily mean that they're successful kind of under the hood. And just with an individual, they can take to themselves to Facebook every day, post a selfie, look good, say something fun, inspirational, get lots of engagement. But behind Facebook, their life's a wreck and they're putting on a good front. And marketing can be that way. And so if you compare yourself to another business's marketing and think, oh, they're just doing so well, they're growing so fast, a lot of that just might be bullshit. You're buying into the marketing that they are successful. And so it's so easy to like fall in the trap because like literally as marketers, we're engineering that kind of, we want people to see our marketing and like it and want to copy it and all that stuff.
Well, I think the world's craving more authenticity and even marketing, right? And I mean, I look at like the last couple people that I've hired, and it's really like the energy speaks more than their marketing. Like I really like look into who they are and like all vibes, like vibe checks, right? Like trusting my intuition more so. And I feel like because of social media and because of technology that we have now, the more people I talk to, that's what they're looking for, right? Like I'm not going to hire someone and ask them like, what's your educational background? I don't need your resume. It's like I'm going to look at the work you've done, the clients you've worked with, and then do a vibe check. And I'm like, and if we vibe, then I'm good, right? So it's just interesting. I feel like we do business in different ways, but when you're stuck in that trap of comparison, it's like you're already losing that authenticity. So it like starts with figuring out like, well, who you are and how do you want to show up? What do you want your brand to say? Like, what are your values? How do you want to communicate that? I always tell my clients, it's like, it's yes, you're going to be doing action in your business because there's always going to be the like the doing stuff. I always do this like the keyboard, like typing on the, there's always going to be the doing in business. But when you set your energy before you start the doing, like when you're really like intentional about that, it's going to come out differently. Like everything's energy. So a lot of the work that I do is help people center that energy so that like when you're doing lead generation, when you're doing marketing, when you're out networking, like you can align that vibe with who you are and what you want to attract.
Yeah. I mean, happiness attracts happiness. And well, in the same way that the reason I have to kind of force myself to smile is because I have a resting bitch face. And I hope I don't get censored for that. But I walk around, I'm like, and people don't come up and talk to me. Like, people aren't walking up and talking to me, but I put on a light smile and I become more approachable. And I mean, that's a basic example, but like, if you approach like what you do with happiness, like you are happy, your work's going to be, and it's going to attract, I guess, just to get woo woo about it again. I do have a question I'm eager to ask, and I don't know if you'll be able to answer. Are your demographics pretty split between men and women? Have you worked with both before?
I've worked with both. It ebbs and flows. Right now, I'm like 95% women that I'm working
Oh,
with, 5% men. There's been, I would say my split is, I don't think it's ever been more than like 75-25. So I do tend to attract more women in. I love working. I love working with men. I think too, especially like bringing some of this mindset stuff and the values work. So I find working on values and vision, like it aligns with women more, and men are like, they're a little bit more, well, in their masculine energy, right? So getting them to kind of break free from that, it's a really cool process. It's incredibly rewarding, especially when like I always celebrate my clients' wins, right? Because that's why I do what I do. But it's like when I have my male clients being like, I'm actually, yeah, business is great. And I'm being the father that I want to be. That is what like I just got goosebumps saying that because this is what it's about, right? Like life's not about business. It's about who we are and how we get to experience that. So I find for women, they're more like tapped into that. But for men, like I gotta kind of break through some old male programming and patterning to get that in. And it's really, really special. And the cool thing about, so I'm a business and mindset coach, but the cool thing about the work that I do is how it ripples out into like their family and personal life and men or women. And like, for me, that's what it's all about. We had a health scare. My son was diagnosed with cancer when he was 2. And
oh my God.
yeah, he went through 2 years of intense chemotherapy and he actually finished last September. So just over a year ago, finished treatment. He's doing fantastic. But things like that happen and you're reminded of like what actually matters. And that's where really my business has started to shift from that experience to helping people realign with that. Because like, yeah, I get to grow a super successful business, but I also get to be the mom and wife and person that I want to be. And I can do it all in a way that just like feels really good. And I think sometimes it takes those moments to shake us out and remind us of like, what are we really here and why, right?
Yeah, I mean, in my personal experience, like growth comes in, it's like a slow march and then like sudden revelations. Like there's always progress, like a little bit of it, but it's those like big moments where all of a sudden like you realize like, oh shoot, I need to start doing this, or I need to stop doing this, or and I'm trying to think of examples. Like all of a sudden like your life is changed. I mean, even something as simple as like I used to have a milk subscription, and this sounds really stupid, but I used to have a milk subscription that I paid for farm fresh milk each month, and I literally drove down the road to the farm to get it. And it's not that far, but it was far enough that it was like an out of my way, that it was like a chore, like a mental chore. I had to plan to go get it. I had to clean the bottles. I had to do all this. And like again, this sounds so stupid and minor, but I was just like, the milk is great, but I'm just going to cancel it because like the mental burden of that trip is like, it was way more than what it was worth. And
Yeah.
I mean, that's like, it was like 3 months of me like contemplating canceling it and canceling it. And all of a sudden, I feel like my life's like 10% better because I just don't have to
Well,
worry about that one thing. And I mean,
well,
I'm
it's
sure
so
they're, oh God.
Yeah, I was just gonna say what you're saying is so interesting because this is something that I coach on is decision making. Because like it's and this is your example is actually perfect because what I find, especially with business owners, is like there's decisions that it's like, oh yeah, these are the pros and cons list, right? But so we sit in this state of indecision. So like I think you said it took you 3 months to actually cancel that. And yeah, life's 10% better. But think of in that 3 month period of time, like how much energy you gave to the milk. Like, even before you were actually going to pick up the milk, you were probably thinking about having to pick up, you're dreading, like the amount of energy that we spend in this state of indecision, which is actually in between the two decisions, like the decision to do it and then actually doing it, actually canceling it, we waste so much energy. So, like, learning how to shorten that time span so we can make decisions quicker, like, this is how you work smarter, not harder, because you're actually really intentional of what you're using your energy on. We waste so much time and energy on things that don't actually matter and don't actually move our business forward. So it's like learning how to, like, okay, how do I just cut these things out so that I can keep doing the things that I want to do in the way that I want to do them? I have a workshop coming out. I did it in the spring and I'm going to like launch it as a digital product, but it's a workshop of overcoming self-sabotage because we all do it. We all sabotage ourselves. Starting to understand like, okay, how do I stop sabotaging myself? Because again, it's that same energy that we use in between like the actual doing the thing so that I can actually achieve my goals with more ease and more peace and more joy and not spend so much energy thinking about canceling the damn milk, right? Like,
Yeah, I mean, you're so right. Like, and it's so funny because you look back and you're like, why did I wait? Like, why did I? But like, the human mind is so interesting. Like, I mean, stating the obvious, but there are just like so many layers of things sometimes like keeping us from like just doing it or just taking the risk or making the decision. And sometimes it's easy, sometimes it's like canceling a milk subscription, right? But sometimes like you're really grappling with like I don't want to say values, but maybe like things that you've learned that you need to unlearn about whatever business, life. Because you pick up good and bad lessons over the years. And like sometimes it's hard to know like what what are the things that you're doing that are helping you, or what are the things or mindsets that are actually like holding you back and like keeping you from achieving like what you're meant to achieve.
yeah, they
I
say like 92% of our behavior comes from our subconscious mind too. And it's all like, so, we have default settings, we have just this habitual way of being. And sometimes we'll be like, I don't know why I'm like that. And it's all ideas that are essentially like programmed into our subconscious mind. So the mind is so interesting because it's subconscious, it's unconscious. Like we don't know what's in there. So most of the time we're walking around like not even really truly understanding ourselves or why we do the things that we do, which I find like so fascinating.
Yeah, that is really interesting to think about because I mean, I feel like I know myself, but also like, and I call it autopilot, but have those like autopilot moments where it's just like, what am I doing? Like,
Mhm.
and I mean, for me, like, mercifully, it's not as I've gotten older, like, fewer kind of autopilot moments, I guess. But like, I guess it's true. Like, a lot of like, you don't really we don't really know ourselves. And a lot of things that we do are driven by emotions, stimuli, hormones,
Past experiences,
past it,
expectations, like
you know.
trauma.
Yeah, trauma. I was thinking the other day because I was contemplating like why it's so hard to like reach out for me, like I'm talking about me, so
Mhm.
hard for me to reach out and do networking. Like just to
Mhm.
show up and say like, "Hey, how are you?" and just show up in somebody's life. And I was thinking about it. I had a really long like car ride the other day, and I was like, I think it's probably related to like when I was a kid, I invited myself over to a friend's house and I got really scolded for it, and
Mhm.
like I never quite forgot that. And like to this day, like I still feel like weird about
Yeah.
like inserting myself. And I mean, honestly, it's probably good advice. Like you really shouldn't invite yourself over. But because an adult came down on me as like, that's something you should never do. Like it just kind of like we've been
Yeah.
talking about programming, program me not to be like that or to try not to do stuff like that.
Just
And it,
essentially that one experience went right into your subconscious mind.
yeah.
So like so many things come from that. I use the same when I first started my own business because like I'm in business, I'm in sales, right? I need to sell, I need to reach out, do all of these things. It was COVID, so you're in people's DMs, like that's how you had to grow a business then. There was no networking. And I really struggled with that. And I had to peel that kind of that thread back. And I remembered when I was growing up, my mom would always have something to say after a telemarketer called. Like, so anytime I went to reach out to someone, it's like, well, I don't want to bother them. I don't want to, like, that was just so I had to change that story. It's like, I'm not bothering people. I'm providing a service, like, and there's nothing personal, right? Like, it just really learning how to shift those habits. But it wasn't the actual habit and the thing of reaching out. It was actually the idea behind the things. Same thing with you. It's the idea behind placing yourselves in these environments that feel uncomfortable because everything goes filtered through that one experience. Like we have our conscious mind's great. It can think, it can originate ideas, it can accept ideas, it can reject ideas, but our subconscious mind can only accept ideas. So those experiences end up getting accepted into our subconscious mind as like an idea, belief, behavior, or paradigm, as I call them. And then everything else gets filtered through. So we start to think new thoughts or start to, oh, I'm going to go out and network and build my business. Well, that idea then gets filtered through that experience in your subconscious mind. You talk yourself out of it
Oh.
all day.
And well, just to reference marketing, because that's where my mind's at a lot of times. A lot of, I feel like specifically attorneys like have this, and maybe it's just most business owners have this allergy about to promoting themselves, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it takes a lot of audacity to like put yourself out there and say like, you're great, come give me money. Like it does
Yeah.
take like a lot of courage and a lot of audacity. And I think lawyers have been taught specifically not to do that, but to stay humble, do good work and the cases will come, that all that good stuff. And you have to learn like when the advice you got was good advice or bad advice. And when it comes to marketing and growing a business, like that's just something like you kind of have to get past is like, yeah, I'm putting myself out there. I'm promoting myself. I feel that way about Facebook sometimes. Like I see, and maybe it's because I judge other people. That's my problem. But somebody posts a selfie on Facebook, and I'm just like, ugh. But now, like, it's so hard for me to post selfies on social media. I feel terrible when I do it, and it's just something I got to get past. And it's because I'm a millennial. Like, and I'm not sure if you are too, but like posting like photos and taking selfies. Like, I remember a time when that was like a faux pas. Like, you didn't want to get caught doing that, but now it's completely different.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah.
All right. Well, we're coming up kind of close to the end of our time. Just got two more questions we're going to go through. So, first, we went through a lot, and I really appreciate. I mean, I usually talk to marketers, so this is very different and very intriguing, although I don't feel like that's a good word. But
I like that.
I'll have a lot to think about later, basically. But is there anything that we didn't go over that you wanted to talk about on this podcast?
Yeah, talking about like the subconscious mind and how we see ourselves, right? Because we like form judgments and things for how we see ourselves. So we actually have like a self-image and a self-perception that we hold in our subconscious mind. And this is across the board. Like it doesn't matter how much education you have, like it doesn't matter what work you do, you have this subconscious image. And the truth is you can't actually outperform that image that you hold. So this is where like until you start changing that image, this is why people are afraid to be visible. This is why people are afraid to be seen. This is why people are they're afraid to show up confidently because they actually think they're going to be cocky because that's the judgment. Like, so it's all of these things. So once you start to change your subconscious imaging that you hold of yourself, and I'm not talking about like how you like look in the mirror, like I'm literally talking about how you think, how you feel, how you move, that's when things start to shift. So it's like, it's so much deeper than just doing the work to build your business. It's actually like becoming the person who has that alignment and that confidence to do the work and show up in like an authentic way. And yeah, I just thought that was something to touch on and maybe some more food for thought for you and your listeners today too.
Well, and I really liked what you said about the subconscious can only receive. Like, I don't know if I've heard that before, but I mean that's honestly like I don't think feel like I ever thought about it like that, and it's just so true. So, where do you want people to go look you up, learn more about you?
Awesome. Yeah, I'm on all the socials, Instagram and LinkedIn for business. So I'm at the Kayleigh Kennedy on Instagram or just Kayleigh Kennedy on LinkedIn. My website is kayleighkennedy.com. I have like a bunch of different programs and things that I'm launching right now too for helping people reprogram their subconscious mind and just build a life that feels really good and achieving that success that's like inner and outer. Because it's like we want both and it's okay to want both.
Well, if you want this kind of change like that we've talked about here on the show in your life, go look Kayleigh up, go visit her website. And if you're a guy, definitely go do it just so she can have more 50-50 split.
I love it.
But thank you so much for being on the show. Really loved having you on. And listeners, we'll talk to you guys next time. Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.